Very good morning to all participants. Today we'll be starting day 2 of this webinar on expert guidance and career opportunities on emerging technologies, where we are covering artificial intelligence, cyber security, Internet of Things, which have been covered in day 1. And today we would be covering blockchain, robotics, and data science. So starting today's session, we have with us Mr. Ajay Singh, the Chief Information Officer of DLT Labs, who would be guiding us on blockchain and what are the trends around it, and probably the career guidance to the aspirants who are graduating from the engineering colleges or master's degree, or also those who want to switch their career from one domain to blockchain. So just a brief introduction about Mr. Ajay Singh, and then we'll start the session. Mr. Ajay is an early pioneer of blockchain technology and has extensive experience with financial institutions in past, such as HSBC, BNP Paribas, and Daglode, and the National Stock Exchange of India. He actively promotes blockchain technology and the other open source technology by running many blockchain labs across colleges and universities in India and world. He has developed deep expertise in building complex business applications which need high throughput and low latency while working with National Stock Exchange, BNP Paribas, and HSBC. We welcome you, Ajay. And in addition to this, we are also glad to say that he is also associated with CDEC Patna in capacities like skill upgradation of resources in this region, and also the course designing and all. So over to you, Mr. Ajay.
Thanks, Saket. Thanks for introduction, and thanks for having me here. Hello, everyone. It is great to see a lot of enthusiastic candidates who are trying to think about how they should shape their career, in what domain they should take their career journey. And today I will be giving a very short introduction about what blockchain is, what kind of jobs are there in blockchain, and why there is so much demand in current scenario. So let me share my screen. Saket, do let me know when it becomes visible. So I will just give a brief introduction about blockchain. In any case, the time is not sufficient to ever cater to the brief introduction, but I will just like to explain certain nuanced detail. So blockchain is a type of a recording system which has made extremely difficult to forge anything or to change or hack or cheat the system. How it does it? It is possible due to a combination of a lot of unique technologies which blockchain adopts, mainly from how distributed data is shared across the network, how that sharing happens, how the validation happens, how the participant enters into the network, and what are the various incentive mechanism for the participants who are participating in these kind of record maintenance. And depending upon incentive, non-incentive, depending upon the type of use case, generally blockchain can be a public blockchain. If you know, there are a lot of famous public blockchain currently in working, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and lots of other. There can be private or permission blockchain. Private and permission blockchain can be an Ethereum blockchain running in a private fashion. Permission can be Hyperledger Fabric. These are the famous one which I'm talking about, but there are hundreds of different kind of blockchain currently in the world, which are on which applications are getting built. So the unique way in which blockchain has brought various technology like cryptography, consensus mechanism around distributed data management, around a smart contract, around putting in the business logic within the code, making code as the rule of law, and all those stuff, it becomes a very interesting landscape in our current technology roadmap. And the way the technology is moving forward, the way distributed data is going to become more and more of a headache for big organizations, governments, and governing bodies. So it has a very huge impact in how any business transformation is going to happen. And why there is a demand? First, it's a new technology. Other very important aspect is that this technology has application in a lot of fields. It is not only one particular field this application can be applied, or it's not domain centric in terms of it cuts the functional domain. When I say functional domain, it can be oil and gas agencies, companies, it can be a supply chain logistic companies, it can be a retail store, it can be internet-based company who is working on data sharing model, PII information sharing model, implementation of robust platform where GDPR-like or data privacy laws are required to be the backbone of the application. Also, it is one of the growing skill in according to the latest skill index. So it's the fastest growing skill currently in the world. Also, the very important fact is it's totally changing the way in business is working currently, not only in terms of financial. So the way type of digital money revolution is going to be brought in by just making money over internet, the way it functions, the way it is decentralized, the way it is devoid of any middleman, it becomes very interesting in the way it is enabling businesses in order to solve and cater to a very large problem. Now, what kind of people are hiring in this particular set of technology landscape? So there are a lot of industries which are hiring, big companies like bank, accounting firms, oil and gas agencies, insurance. Startups are gung-ho on blockchain technology because they are seeing it as a very pivotal moment in this coming decade, as well as maybe next coming decade, in which they are going to shape up the business transformation, if they are going to shape up the digital transformation. So all new startups are somewhere or the other way are working and innovating over blockchain. It can be a startup which may be purely dealing in cryptocurrency trading, where are still very much ambiguous around rules and regulation. It can be a startup like DLT Labs, which is totally on distributed ledger technology, devoid of any concept of cryptocurrency. We work on, there are 4 on the certain basic tendency around how to manage distributed data, is around auditability of the data, around transparency of the data, and the data governance. And we at this pivotal moment think that there is no other technology available which can handle these problems around distributed data management in a better way than blockchain. And that's why all our innovative products are backbone over blockchain. Tech firm like Microsoft, tech firm like Google, tech firm like Amazon, tech firm like all the cloud provider, IBM, are also totally into blockchain technology because they are seeing that this is where the world is moving. The world is trying to solve the problem of middleman, trying to solve the problem of a lot of non-transparencies around how somebody's data is getting used, how to enable people while sharing the data to make sure that they are able to share those data in more transparent fashion, in a fashion which is more auditable. Governments who are constantly getting questioned around the world around transparency, more better way of communicating with people, more better way of working in a federal structure where they are able to consume data from other people, they are able to give and produce data so that other people are able to consume in a better way. So it is a technology which is totally cutting horizontally in each and every domain, in each and every industry. One other very aspect of why big industries are into blockchain is also due to compliance. The best way in order to be compliant, in order to be auditable, you need to have data put into a platform where it can be shared as and when required in real time, but at the same time, you are able to control the privacy of the data. Industries are also looking at these blockchain technologies for money transfer, cross-border transfer transfer, which currently in our current way in which banking sector works, it's heavily on paperwork, it's heavily documentation itself, and it takes a lot of time in order to get a deal done. The trust factor coming in picture, whether it's industries, whether it's government, whether it's big tech firm who are constantly pressurized, again, making sure that whatever they are doing with the consumer data, whatever they are doing with customer data is totally transparent in nature. Now, the other thing which I'd like to cover, what kind of skills are necessary currently if you want to enter into a blockchain field. So starting with, there are certain blockchain platforms which are already famous, which are already getting used. It's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Hyperledger Fabric. So it's essential that you understand the basic of these platforms. Understanding blockchain in basic, it's very much essential. The programming languages such as Golang, Python, C++, JavaScript are again one of the very much used programming languages, mainly attributed to the fact like Golang and C++, how they work at a system level, how they work efficiently in managing distributed computing and distributed data management. Data structures, smart contracts. Data structure is ultimately, blockchain has a lot to do with how the data is kept, how the data is communicated, how the data is getting transported across the various nodes which are maintaining those data for you. So it's very essential to understand data structure in detail. A smart contract is an innovative concept where what it means that the code itself gets run onto the blockchain layer. So whatever code is there, it's also is a form of data which is programmable in nature. So it brings into programmability features on to the blockchain layer itself. So these are very much essential skills which you need to have. It may at a high level, it may look very difficult that there are so much things you need to learn, which are maybe you may be new to it, but you can take an incremental steps around gaining the information around it, because the technology is pretty much new. There are people in the world who have still not been exposed to it, right? So it's not that it is very late in the technology adoption roadmap, or it's very late where everybody is way ahead of you. In this particular technology, if you spend near about 1.5 months, you will be able to catch up to a lot of people at a very great pace, because it is still innovating. It's still a lot of new stuff is coming on into the world, right? So that is one of the very advantageous thing when you are dealing with emerging technologies. It may look very difficult, but if you are able to cross the initial hurdle, the benefit and the advantages you get out of it is manifold. First, because you will be always in top of your game in this particular career prospect. The maximum amount of opportunities, you will be working with latest and greatest companies, latest and greatest people, latest and most pressing problem of the world. So the amount of job satisfaction, the amount of person satisfaction, which working with emerging technologies can bring, like blockchain, it's immense. Money is good. One of the very important factor, if you want, somebody wants to grow their career, since the amount of expert currently in the world who are an expert on blockchain or who are solving problems on blockchain is very limited, because it is yet to be explored. There are a lot of innovation yet going on. So it is a very interesting career prospect. That all will be from my side. Saket, do we have time to take any questions, or we can take questions later
Yeah, first of all, thank you for covering all the aspects very briefly and very nicely in the given so short slot of time to you. And now we will open the questions, answer any questions related to career opportunities and the guidance how to proceed in blockchain for 1 to 2 minutes for the participants. Those who want, they can put in chat. So any questions regarding blockchain and guidance, related to guidance and career opportunities, you could ask here. And in the coming days, we would be surely launching another detailed webinar and workshop on blockchain, where you could understand about the technicalities of it.
So just to add it, in any case, 15 minutes is a very short duration to take and cover every aspects of it. But I hope this particular session will made you more curious to go and search about blockchain, go and search about the foundations technology, go and search about how you can onboard and get this particular journey.
Few questions are coming up, so quickly we will take it. Ashish, as I said, blockchain can't be made understand in this 15 minutes. So yes, we would shortly launch another workshop dedicated to it. So that would answer your query. For Muhammad AH, how to initiate about foundation learning resources for blockchain?
So there are a lot of foundation learning resources available on blockchain technology. Only thing is that the internet is, if you go and search, you'll get a lot of data and generally people get lost. So what I will say, probably at the end of this emerging technology session, Saket, we will be share certain links with the candidates, and that may be a great starting point or a good starting point. But to just answer your question, what you can do for all these foundational technology, what I talk about, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Hyperledger Fabric as a blockchain platform, they have an official website which lists down all the fundamentals around their technologies, how to go ahead and how to start developing on it, how to start learning about it. And those are the best resources for self-learning and self-guided sessions. So just go and search them about it. They will be coming into your Google search in top 1 or 3 result. There you can search as README Docs Hyperledger Fabric, README Docs Ethereum, README Docs Bitcoin. Other best place would be to go into their official GitHub account. It also contains a lot of reading material on how to start on these journeys.
So thanks a lot again, Ajay, for taking out this time out of your busy schedule and guidance. At least this 50 minutes would have opened the horizon for many of the students who have joined us to start searching for this blockchain and the technology around it. And the next step would be attending those certificate courses and workshops and webinar, and then you would go forward. So thank you again, Ajay. Thanks a lot.
Thanks everyone. Have a great day. Bye. Thanks, Saket. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you. Next in the session, we have Mr. Jigar Hilani sir with us. And means it is our pleasure that he has associated with CDAC Patna, and he has also provided us time in previous webinars and where he has shared some experience on data science and the NVIDIA products around it. Today's talk on data science and the guidance and the career opportunities on it would be handled by him. And just to briefly tell about his profile, he's the Director of Enterprise Solution Architecture and Engineer Team at NVIDIA South Asia, and having a 15+ experience in HPC, Big Data, AI infrastructure. He has also been recognized in the past for outstanding contribution at Wipro, where he was heading Wipro's HPC and Big Data practice for whole India region. He also got awarded as the Best Technical Manager by Mr. Azim Premji in 2017. So it's an honor to have you, sir. Over to you.
Hi, everyone. Very good afternoon. I'm Jigar. I work with NVIDIA, and I thought I'll take an opportunity to talk to you guys in this forum that CDAC Patna is trying to organize. And I've titled it that the subject itself as career opportunity with data, because today this is a new oil, as how everybody says it, right? So instead of saying it data science or data engineering or machine learning or deep learning or per se AI, I choose to put it as data because everything is around this data essentially, right? And I thought the opportunity will be to know how this data pipeline works, what sort of work that you can do within this, data science workloads that people usually go as what they call it as pipelines. And each one of them are oceans, right? And you try to boil this ocean to achieve your business goals or the problem statements that you are trying to solve for the real world scenarios as well. So with that, I only have one slide, to be very honest. And that slide is this, right? At the bottom, if you see towards the slide, what am I trying to represent is how a typical pipeline of any environment looks like. And I'm sorry, I'm going to be slightly quicker because we only have 15 minutes. So, I'll try and wind it up in 7 to 8 minutes, and then would love to have some questions from you guys as well, and the opportunity that we have around in the country today, right? And across the world as well. So data, I don't have to explain it to you guys. You guys are extremely familiar. All of you must be engineers, either in the first semester or in your last semester or in between, but you must be playing around with data, maybe in your mobile, maybe on your laptop, on your desktop, in your systems where you do your experiments, in your lab environments and stuff, right? In real world as well, we have various kind of data which is available to us, which the industry is trying to leverage to make their business flourish, right? I was just laughing yesterday only because a lot of jokes were coming up in WhatsApp because of the IPO which has come up in recent past from all these e-commerce companies, right? And they're all flourishing. None of them are cooking company or a grocery shop, or per se a bank, but they are all digitalizing themselves and building platforms to make us all ease our day-to-day. That's what they're trying to do, right? And all they have it is data, and they're trying to make money out of it, right? So you have logs, you have images, you have text, you have databases, you have sensor data which is coming to you. You have audio data, you have audio video mix which is also coming to you. All these things is data, and the moment it comes to you, you wish to do something around this particular data, right? So in olden days, we used to call it as data warehouses. And to do that, we used to have, data processing pipelines. We used to call them as ETL, which still, remains true actually. The era of so-called analytics came in, which I think still exists pretty well. Erstwhile, we used to do historical data analytics, move towards real-time data, and then now we are moving towards predictive analytics as well, which means we try and predict the future, and basis that we try and make business sense of the data that we have it, right? And finally, the new techniques which are kicking off in last 5-7 years as well, these techniques existed. What has changed in so many years is the techniques to make these things work faster. The compute infrastructure, which is the GPU computing, which has become a de facto standard platform, and then the data availability itself, right? Erstwhile, the data used to be very, very secure with one department only, not shared with multiple departments, or within one location only, not shared with. Today, that's not the case. We are democratizing the data world and trying to see, how we can leverage each other. If not data shareable, data models on which models are being built upon should be shareable, right? Those are the techniques which are getting evolved with what we call it as true sense machine learning and deep learning, right? And then we finally deploy all these things in the real life so that prediction starts to come in play, right? What we call it in technical languages, inferencing starts to play in, right? That's how the whole pipeline looks in. And where are the opportunities in real sense? The opportunities are multifold, right? Like, for example, we are speaking on a Zoom platform as we speak currently, right? Zoom uses a lot of big data machine learning AI at the back, right? In near future, you will see Zoom making my face look straight in front of you, even if I look towards the right side or the left side. Like, how am I looking right now, or looking down, right? It will still make sure that my face looks face to face, and thereby you all feel that I have eye-to-eye contact with you as well, which is going on, right? Video, which is where we are playing around with, right? Same way on the Zoom platform, when am I speaking, you would like to hear that in Hindi, for example, right? You will have a click button, hopefully very soon. And I'm sure everybody's working in that direction, where you will be able to do a real-time translation of the languages as well, right? And I will speak in English, you will listen to it in Hindi. I will speak in Chinese, you will listen to it in English as well. I think that's already happening in many of the platforms as well. Skype does have this particular feature. Even Zoom has it, in some of the advanced platforms that they have it. And similarly, many other places The language barrier will go away because of this. I talked about some of the most advanced use cases which we are talking about. The traditional use cases that you all have been experiencing it and growing with this digital world is fraud analytics, click-through ratios, or ad platforms that you see on different websites. You clicked on one particular product, that product starts to be visible on your Facebook, it gets visible on your LinkedIn or other platforms where you're going through essentially. So those were the traditional ones that we have seen it as well, and a lot more advancification which is taking place in that particular direction as well. What do we see the future? The future is what I have put it across in the upper baskets as well, right? The healthcare system, the robotics, the autonomous platforms, drones. In fact, it's there in the news starting today morning. Government of India has eased out the drone policy as well. Telecom, we are on the verge of having 5G in the entire world, and of course in India as well. Look at the possibilities that you can do. We're talking about 1 Gbps speed on your end devices, right? And that can transform many things, because on the edge now you can send humongous amount of data. Hopefully you'll be able to process this much faster than what we are doing it today, and with that you are able to do a response time as well, right? Smart cities, everywhere we have cameras. We want to understand these cameras. Cannot be done by humans. It has to be done by a machine way, and you need to define the boundaries on what actions you want to do it with the videos which are running through in front of you, right? So these are the possibilities that the world is moving towards, and we see this getting implemented today live. So that's what the data is doing in today's world. Now let's talk about the career opportunity very quickly in a minute or two. I mean, you go to LinkedIn or Monster or Naukri or Shine.com or wherever you want to go, right? At any given point of time today in the market, you will see 40 to 50,000 jobs just around data, be it about data processing, data is analytics position, data science position, machine learning and deep learning. This is the bare minimum number I see average per week as number of openings which are open, right? And where is the supply? Supply is too low. It's only available with the academia world today. Students who are learning the newer techniques are able to flourish in the market much faster, right? The number of companies who are working with this technology is in tens of thousands. Just in India, I'm talking about. Worldwide number is far more superiorly high, right? And to give you some realistic statistics as well, India has 1,600 AI startup registered with Government of India. So that itself speaks up what number of opportunity that we are gunning towards and targeting essentially, right? So that's the opportunity that is there in your hand. And the number of things that you can do with this particular stream is enormous, right? You could be a ML ops guy, you could be a deep learning specialist, you could be a data scientist, you could be a data analyst, right? You could be a Spark specialist, you could be a big data infrastructure engineer as well. There are so many number of possibilities that you can get into. It depends on what you have learned, where do you see you have strength, and how do you want to grow yourself as well, right? And my belief is every engineering college in next 2 to 3 years will start to teach machine learning, deep learning, data analytics by default. It's going to be like C and Java. This course is going to be de facto. We already have seen more than 500 engineering colleges talk this language already in India. We are miles ahead to go, but the opportunity is far bigger and better than the world has seen so far with any other technology in the IT world. So that's all what I had very quickly. In 15 minutes, I thought I could do justice to this much, and happy to take some questions, and that's what I think will give you more perspective essentially. So love to have questions next 5 minutes. That's how I've designed myself for 15 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
So
thanks
so
a lot.
Saket, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Very planned through session, and I think it would have cleared at least the abstract view of the career opportunities around data science. Now we have opened the chat for the participants. You could put on your query related to the guidance and career opportunities. And the technical part is not possible, guys. So let's focus your questions around the topic.
All right, a good question has come in. What makes graphics card work with big data, right? I would urge you to please go back and look towards a platform named as Rapids, rapids.ai. I'll type it out in the chat as well. You can go through this website, www.rapids.ai. It's our platform for big data analytics that we have developed it. It has been rated as #1 project in open source community last year. And we have over about 70,000 developers across the world in open source community contributing back to this. We have some of the largest companies who have tied up with us, likes of Cloudera, Informatica, Splunk, and few others to name with, who work with us on this particular platform as well, which are to be known as one of the world's largest big data companies, right? So that's the platform. Oh, all right. Freshers are the only one who are getting data scientist job today at a massive scale because there is no availability of data scientists at a scale that the demand is growing, right? So I assure you, if you go towards LinkedIn and start to search freshers data scientist, a lot of people would have posted it out that I got a job in so-and-so company as a data scientist, engineer 1, engineer 2, whatever the designation is. And I'm starting my journey with so-and-so company. Thank you so much to so-and-so person for interview and all, right? I at least get such messages 10 to 12 in my LinkedIn on a daily basis. So you may want to really look towards it. Lot of opportunity. And the only source, as I said, at this point of time, at least for next 1 or 2 years more, is the academia world, which is freshers. I think beyond 2 years, we will have Mass and Mehmet because, as I said, 500 plus engineering colleges already have started the courses last year, this year, a couple of years back. IITs have already started. So with that, the pumping of engineers will come in the market, and possibly the demand supply will also, go into hand in hand. I'll certify if I attend. All right, I don't have an answer to that. Probably Saket will help.
You can leave that. And another thing, only we can take 2 more questions. When Ayush is asking platform where we work along with study related to data science, and then around minimum skills required to get a data scientist job.
Python and maths, minimum skills. And where can you work? You can work on your system. If you have CPU, you are good to go. If you want to see somewhat performance, then you need to have GPU. And for that, there are many options. Every cloud provider like AWS, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Azure, all these guys give student some free credits. And Google Colab is free, right? You could also do NVIDIA DLI certification program, which we keep organizing every 1 or 2 months. It's absolutely free of cost for students. You will see these announcements on LinkedIn, on our platforms, on our website, and many other places essentially, right? So that's where it stands, and you can get started as long as you know Python, and with that you can learn any one of these platforms. You can go into a detail of deep learning by learning TensorFlow or PyTorch, and you should be good to go. Okay. Okay. All right. So then we should bind up here because these questions would never stop regarding to technical aspects. And happy to take them. You can connect me on my LinkedIn or Twitter. I've given my ID as well here. Love to chat with you guys there as well. Sure. Thank you very much, sir, for your time and thoroughly covering the. With pleasure. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. My pleasure, Saket. Thank you for inviting me for this session. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time. You have a lovely day and stay safe. Okay, guys. So next in talk, we have with us Mr. Dinesh Anantwar, sir. And he's a training consultant, ex-head, previous ex-head education at Infosys Pune. And just to briefly tell it, because I don't find any other way than briefly telling his profile, because he has a long profile and it is really hard to cover everything. He would be basically covering the career opportunities around emerging technologies like AI, blockchain and all. Sir has around 25 plus years of experience in across the world in USA, UK, Germany, Malaysia, and India at various senior positions in IT industry in software development domain, and also training with companies like Infosys, iGate, Patni, and CDAC. He has led and managed software development projects in USA, Europe, Southeast Asia, and India.
and he was also head education and research at Infosys Pune and global head for training delivery. He is double postgraduate from Premium Institute, MS from BITS Pilani, and post-graduation in management from IIM Kozhikode. Over to you, sir. Looking forward for your session.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Saket, for introducing me. So I have been listening to the sessions of other speakers as such on data science, cyber security, artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things, blockchain. So they have covered all these emerging technologies as such really well. And I also found that as they were talking about technologies, they talked about the opportunities in the respective fields, So what I would do is I'll twist my session a little bit, because every speaker, other than talking about technologies, has told what kind of opportunities exist in the respective emerging technologies as such. So I thought I would tell all of you, share my experiences in terms of how to succeed in a IT career, So I would say that, IT careers are one of the best careers in India, no doubt about it. It is one of the biggest employers as such. It employs more than 50 lakh engineers. Software industry in India employs more than 50 lakh IT engineers. I am based out of Pune, and I can just say that one city, Pune, has more than 5.5 lakh IT engineers. If we look at district places in India, some of the district places population might not be 5.5 lakhs. And in one city, Pune, there are 5.5 lakh software engineers working just in one city, Pune. You can visualize, how many jobs that exist all across India. And definitely the jobs that are in emerging technologies definitely are the cream jobs. The salaries are even better, or the challenges are even better. But one thing we all need to understand is that, there are challenges in anything. You take it mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical engineering. There are challenges in all engineering. In software also, it's not that it is only the emerging technologies that is where there are challenges. There are challenges in all kinds of applications or products that are being developed, because we understand that software is omnipresent. It is present everywhere. A doctor needs a software, a farmer needs a software, a hotelier needs a software. Moreover, easier question will be, who doesn't need a software? Everybody needs a software. So let's understand that software is not a fashion. It is kind of a necessity, and software is required in anything and everything. There is no sphere of life which doesn't have software, and software is making life of people better and faster in every aspect of life as such, all across the globe. And India that way has become a leader in software development, leader for the globe, I would say, in terms of products and even innovations. We were kind of behind earlier. Obviously, the Silicon Valley in US is the one which leads when it comes to innovation, new products, and all of that. But the younger generation, that is you people, I understand the participants are mainly people who are doing undergoing their graduation or post-graduation as such. I would like to appreciate you youngsters, because you are changing the IT scenario in India in terms of coming up with your own startups, new products, new ideas, and all that. So emerging technology will be another excellent opportunity for you to come up with your own startup. And I recommend that, instead of just looking for jobs, when we see the opportunities in emerging technology, it is not just jobs. I told you that there are 50 lakh plus jobs in India, and a good number of them will be in emerging technologies. And I would say that the fastest growth in terms of number of jobs will be in emerging technology. If you look at, say, a particular technology, say Java set of technologies or .NET set of technologies or whatever, how much growth is there in every technology and number of jobs? Definitely there is growth, but the highest growth in a particular set of technologies is going to be in emerging technologies. If you look at the statistics also, it clearly indicates that the maximum jobs are coming up in emerging technologies as such. Yeah, so good number of jobs there. But let us be practical and understand that the emerging technologies are very popular among youngsters like you, and whatever is popular, fashionable, it will be crowded as such. Okay, so because these are fashionable technology, are they good technologies? Yes, they are excellent technologies, very useful technologies. They are in need also. But along with being in need, these technologies are very fashionable, I would say. Because they are fashionable, there are too many people trying to get into emerging technologies. So understand that, see, there are a lot of technologies like Java technologies, .NET and AngularJS and Salesforce and SAP, and there are a lot of different technologies and the technologies. Emerging technologies also have a good amount of demand, but because they are very fashionable, people are interested in that. They are crowded. Let's understand that. So if you decide to do career in emerging technologies, understand that the competition is higher as compared to other technologies. So it is very, very important that you prepare well to succeed in the IT industry, especially the emerging technologies as such. This good number of jobs there, and I would say that if you want to succeed in your career, then you need to know about a few things. That it's not just about doing a degree or a master's in these technologies or doing some certificate. Definitely, you need to do a degree or a master's in these technologies, or you need to do a certification probably in these technologies. That is kind of known, But what I would say is that there are certain personality traits that you all must develop. You need to have a logical or an analytical mind. You should be able to analyze things. That is very, very important. A logical and analytical mind is what you have to develop over a period of time. Why? Because see, what is software development principally? See, customer has a problem. Understand, customer can be any domain. Customer could be a bank, customer could be an insurance company, customer could be a pharma company, a steel company, anything, and they have a problem, and they want a solution to this problem, a software solution to this problem, which helps them with productivity improvement or cost saving or better quality or whatever. Typically, these are the things, So when the customer is going to come to you with a problem and customer is expecting you to solve the problem, then definitely you can solve the problem only when you have a problem solving ability, and you will have a better problem solving ability when your logical and analytical skills are good. So that is very, very important. People who tend to mug up things and get good marks are not going to survive in this industry for sure. See, knowledge is power, no doubt about it. So you definitely need to have good amount of knowledge. But another thing I would say is that software, especially the emerging technologies, is something where a lot of change keeps on happening. But as compared to technologies which have kind of matured, like Java set of technologies, there in say .NET technologies or Java set of technologies, the rate of change is slow. Whereas in Java, emerging technologies that we have been discussing for last 2 days, the rate of change is very, very high. And because the rate of change is very high, a lot of new technologies are coming, a lot of new tools are coming. Integrating them is very, very challenging and complex. So your learnability is also very, very important, because only completing a degree or a master's or a certification is not the end of things. Moreover, I would say that once you join job, you will have to learn a lot of things from scratch, because you will be working in a particular domain that you will develop software, say in the banking domain or insurance domain or a pharma domain or manufacturing domain. So other than knowing these emerging technologies, you will have to spend a lot of energies and efforts in learning that particular domain. Understand that Only technologies are not enough. Learning that particular domain is very, very necessary. Suppose you have to develop a banking application and you say that I don't know how banks work. No, boss, without knowing how banks work, you cannot develop a software which will run in a bank as such. So, no technologies, definitely a big thumbs up that we have to learn technologies, but learn domain also. You might have to learn a lot of tools also. There are processes, there might be software development processes that you will have to learn, right? So learnability will be very, very important. As I said earlier, logical, analytical mind would lead to good problem solving ability. That is important. Another thing, India is a leader for the world in terms of software development. So India develops software for kind of every country. There are nearly 200 countries around the world, and India develops softwares for nearly all of them. So when the customers are from all across the globe, your communication skills are going to be important. So I suggest that all of us need to focus on becoming better in terms of our communication skills. So first thing is that a lot of us study in vernacular medium school. Vernacular is non-English medium school. It could be whatever, Bangla, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, whatever. So first level is we need to improve our knowledge of English, and we should be able to speak in English. Okay. But let's understand that being able to speak in English doesn't necessarily mean your communication is good. See, because suppose your mother tongue is Hindi, and you speak to each other in Hindi, correct? That means you know Hindi as a language because that's your mother tongue. You are talking in Hindi from childhood. But suppose you are talking to your friend in Hindi, both of you are fluent in Hindi, but once in a while it would happen that your friend explains you something and then you will say, "Arey, kya bol rahe ho yaar? Mujhe samajh mein nahi aa raha hai. I'm not able to understand what you are saying." That means his Hindi is good, but his communication skills, that ability to convey your thoughts, is not very good. So there are two levels to this. First, be good at spoken English, and being able to know the language and the grammar and the vocabulary is necessary but not sufficient. What it means is that you should know language, grammar, vocabulary, etc. At the same time, other than knowing the language, you should be able to communicate well. You have to develop that ability to express your thoughts well, because your customers are going to be global customers as such. Over a period of time, depending on which customers you work for, which countries you work for, it will also be a good idea to pick up some foreign language like Japanese or Chinese or German or Spanish or something like that. It definitely will be an added advantage for you. Yeah. I would say if you're working in the IT industry, and IT is intangible, right? What do you mean by intangible? Something that you cannot touch and feel. Suppose you're a mechanical engineer, there is the engine, you can touch the cylinder, the piston, the walls, etc. But in software, everything is intangible. You cannot touch and feel, what is a class, what is an object, what is a linked list. Everything is, intangible, invisible. So if you want to succeed in the IT industry, the IT career, your ability to visualization has to be very good, I would say. You have to visualize everything, right? The problems you have to visualize, analyze, the solution, whatever. Suppose you're using some data structures, like say linked list or stack or binary trees or threaded binary trees or whatever. They are all conceptual, right? You cannot touch and feel those. So we all, if you want to succeed in the IT industry, in the emerging technologies, our ability to visualize has to be good. A few more things, because I am a techie person. I've done my engineering masters from ITS Pilani, and at the same time I'm a management masters from IIM, and I've played very senior roles like global head and director and things of that sort. I can tell you that technologies are a must. They're at the heart of your work. But when we are students in undergraduate or postgraduate, we focus only on technologies, and that is where I wanted to take your attention to, logical or analytical mindset, problem solving abilities, communication skills, visualization ability, communication ability. Those are important. You need, over a period of time, not all of a sudden, but over a period of time, you have to develop leadership abilities also. because within no time you will become team leaders, project managers, senior project managers, etc. It's a very interesting field which gives you faster growth also. I'm sure you all look forward to the faster growth, but then you have to see that are you prepared for that faster growth? Within no time you will lead 4-5 people. Within again no time, in few years you will manage some 30-40 people. Again in few years you might be managing 200-400 people. So your ability to work with people, your team working ability is important, your leadership is important. You can attend courses for those. At the same time, definitely you should attend courses. There are classroom courses that happen, there are online sessions that are available, there are blogs that are available. Please read about those. At the same time, I highly recommend that you should observe people and learn. Suppose you join as a software programmer, when a CEO comes and talks to a larger group, a vice president comes, a senior manager comes, a manager comes, keep observing them, because at some point of time you are going to go to those levels: team leader, manager, vice president, director, etc. So keep observing them, see how they speak, what do they talk about, how do they motivate people, how do they lead by example, and imbibe those things in yourself and develop your leadership and teamwork and everything else that I talked about. Two more things, and I will stop. My 15 minutes would be getting over. So let me talk about two more important things about how to succeed in the career, how to grow in that career. You need a lot of adaptability and flexibility. You cannot just say that I want to work only on blockchain or only on artificial intelligence, only on data science. You cannot do that, because all these technologies are interrelated. What is more important is giving solution to the customer. Okay, we cannot force one technology on the customer. What is most important is understand the problem of the customer and give him a solution using the required technology. Because blockchain, you cannot keep using blockchain in everything, or you cannot keep using artificial intelligence in everything. Whenever a solution is to be created, is technology that has been. So remain flexible for technologies. Don't constrain yourself to one technology. Over a period of time, learn different technologies, understand the integration of those technologies, and give the best solution to the customer. Your focus should be the best solution to the customer and not using the technology that you like. Understand, use the technology that is very relevant for the customers need as such. So that adaptability, flexibility is required in terms of technologies. I highly recommend that be adaptable and flexible in terms of location. Don't say I want to work only in Patna or Delhi is near, work only in Delhi or something like that. Work anywhere, Pune, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad. See, most of you want to go across the globe. You want to go and work in the Silicon Valley, which is in San Francisco, or you want to work in. If you want to go across the globe, you have to show flexibility from the beginning of your career. You want to go to New York and London and work, but you don't want to go to Pune or Chennai and work. That is not right. That is not going to work. Okay. So if you remain in the pond by constraining yourself that I will work only on this technology, or I want to constrain myself on the location, then you are not going to grow. If you want the best-in-class companies, if you want the best-in-class opportunities, so remain flexible about technologies, remain flexible about locations as such. That's what I would say. So in a nutshell, that is the success mantra. And one of the introduction that I would like to give about myself is that I'm a career mentor for a few thousand people, and career mentoring is not teaching. I do one-to-one personal coaching to even vice president and managers, etc. I have mentored more than 3,000 people, and all these inputs are coming from there. So other than me being a very successful professional, I have visibility into large number of people. Real careers start. So the inputs were coming from there. Take them seriously, implement those, and I'm sure you have a great career in front of you.
There is some issue at Dinesh end, although, however, he has ended, and we would be opening for any questions regarding what he has said, and very rightly said that we should be open for all the technologies, as he has mentioned multiple times in his talk. and the open to technologies, these emerging technologies, and open to the location and open to the and the career development, overall development is also very important. So I'm opening the chat for the participants for 2 minutes, so that if you have any doubt, you could ask Dinesh.
All the best, everyone. Yeah, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. My name is Dinesh Anantwar, and if you need any guidance, feel free to contact me. You know, don't be in a hurry to learn those. When you start working, find out for which customer are you working, which geography are you. Suppose you are working in South America, then Greek and Spanish are the languages which are spoken there. So you can learn Spanish, which is spoken in most of the, from Mexico to Brazil to Argentina, many countries they speak Spanish, so you can learn Spanish. If you go to work in Japan or Japanese customers, you can learn Japanese. So or you can learn a language out of these. See, the most popular languages are Japanese, Chinese, German, Spanish. So you learn one of the language that you find interesting, because Japanese and Chinese are very difficult because there is a script also. The script is very different. Whereas when you learn Spanish or French or German, the script is same as English, which is Roman. You don't have to learn a new script. But when you learn Chinese or Japanese, they have their own scripts, and they are very, very difficult or challenging as such. So it's your interest. So if you are learning while you are studying, it's your interest, what interests you. But as you start working, you can look at which customers you are working from, which geography they are in, and then learn that language probably. Any other questions?
Okay, sir, we will end it here, because I think there is no other question. And
okay, thanks a lot. Thanks everybody. My best wishes to everyone.
So from CDAC Patna side, I would like to thank you for taking out this precious time and guiding us all regarding a general view about the career opportunities across the world in this emerging technologies. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Saket, and thank you, management team at CDAC Patna, to invite me for this session.
Okay, so participants, next in line we have with us, this is just a brochure about all the PG diploma courses, online PG diploma courses run by CDAC in this batch. And one of the courses which have been recently added now is on robotics and allied technologies by CDAC Kolkata. And in CDAC Patna, we are running on DAI, that is Artificial Intelligence and Internet of Things. So this is the brochure, and for all the details, you could visit acts.cdac.in. Now, I would like to invite our CDAC Kolkata team to explain us about robotics and the allied technologies and about the career opportunities around it.
First of all, thanks everyone from CDAC Patna to allow us to present a webinar on postgraduate diploma in robotics and allied technology, so which is known as PGDRAT. So I would like to congratulate everyone to start a new journey in the field of acts. I hope this journey will be very fruitful for the entire organization. So this is the basic agenda of the entire presentation. So basically we will just focus what are the exact course structure, what is the course focus, what are the basic eligibility criteria to get into that particular course, and what are the contents of the course. And I will also highlight how various technologies like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, machine learning are converging into one platform, and we are finally making robotics an interdisciplinary section. And I will talk about Industry 4.0, and then I will move to the career opportunities. So as all of us know that robotics is a multidisciplinary course. Like to develop a robotic system, we need various engineering backgrounds, starting from the mechanical, electrical, electronics, even in computer science. So we need the expertise in all the domains to develop a complete robotic solution. So considering that into the mind, we have designed the course, and we are going to give the flavor in the field of robotics to all the students who are going to enroll in that particular PG direct program. Like they will be enriched with the concepts of the fundamentals of robotics, in-depth knowledge of robotics. Then again, we'll highlight how artificial intelligence and machine learning are being applied in the field of robotics, how electronics and electrical circuitry are being applied in the field of robotics. Each and every domain has individual importance, considering that into the fact we have designed the entire course. So this is the eligibility criteria, whatever we have kept. Like the students, whoever will be graduate from any engineering colleges are eligible to apply for this particular course. Like he or she can be from IT background or computer science or electronics or telecommunication or mechanical, electrical and instrumentation. Or even if that person is having a background in MS or MSc, that person also can write the exam. I will come back to the exam. And the candidates at least should be having 55% marks in the entire graduation period. So how to get into this particular course? We all know that CDAC has two wings. One is ACTS, another one is R&D. So this particular course comes under ACTS wings. So we conduct CCAT exam every year. So through CCAT exam, they have to write the CCAT exam and they have to get into this particular course. And this particular course is being offered for CDAC Kolkata. So this is the course content. So the entire course consists of 900 hours of rigorous training, which includes the theoretical development, the practical advancement, and even we will concentrate on the aptitude section. And finally, the enrolled students has to do a tremendous projects, considering all the technologies, whatever it will be taught throughout the entire 6 months. So the first module consists of introduction to robotics. In that particular module, we will not go into the deep of the robotics section, just will give a flavor, the basic concepts of the robotics, what are the degrees of freedom, what are the various kind of manipulators are there, what are the various mechanical options which can be thought to develop a robotic platform, and some other things. And the second module consists of mechanical and electrical design. This particular module is quite vast. So we know that to develop a robotic system, first of all, the mechanical constraint of that particular system has to be considered. So to do that, we will introduce some of the CAD softwares to do some prototypes, to understand the mechanical part designing of a robotic system. And even we'll concentrate on the electrical part also, because we know a robotic system, like there are two kinds of robotic system which is possible. Based on the application, we can decide whether it is a wheeled robot or a legged robot. I am considering let the robot be a wheeled robot. For that, we will be needing a lot of electrical constraints. So considering all the facts, we'll go deep into the electrical design of the robotic platform. Then the third module will be consisting of controllers, sensors, actuators. Obviously, next part will be to make our robot as smart as possible. So obviously, we have to integrate sensors. That is most integral part of the robotic systems. Once we integrate sensors, automatically microcontrollers will come into the pictures. Automatically, Internet of Things will come into the pictures. So we will show how to extract the data using high-end microcontrollers and how to send the data to the servers, and plus how to analyze the data. And finally, that feedback has to come to the robotic system, and the robots, whatever it will be designed, they can act accordingly. And the next part is that mission and motion planning. That is also a very important part of the module. That particular module consists of like whether we can make a robot an autonomous system. Autonomous system, or it can be a like teleoperated robotic system. The next module will be ROS, robot operating system. In that things we will integrate like how ROS or robot operating system can help to make more smarter a robotic module. And the next module will be AI ML based robotic vision. In that particular module, we will show how application can be integrated in that robotic section. For example, if I have an application like I have to capture the image or I have to detect some diseases using that particular image, how to develop the image processing algorithm using AI ML, that also can be shown in that particular module. Apart from that, we go for the aptitude, communication, and then the students have to build up a project and seminar considering all the modules, whatever it has been taught. Then at the end, we will show some case studies. Case studies will continue, like using some humanoid robots, some wheel robots, some in-house robotic platforms. All the exposure will be given to the students. This particular slide consists of like convergence of robotics, AI, and IoT. Fine, we know that like nowadays without sensors, a robot cannot work smartly. Without AI, a robot cannot act smartly. So we know that robotics is a convergence of artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. Obviously, where there will be sensors, there will be IoT, there will be AI. Correct. So all these two platforms are like converging into one single platform, which is known as robotics. That is why we call this is an interdisciplinary cyber physical system, which is known as ICPS. Now let's see the industry 4.0. Like initially it was industry 1.0 when we started the research. It was complete mechanization. Then we moved towards industry 2.0. There we used to work using assembly lines. There like a lot of devices have been manufactured. A lot of devices have been made in the assembly line using mass production techniques. Then we moved to industry 3.0 where automation has been the major area of research. Now industry 4.0, whatever it has been built till now, can be integrated in one single platform, which is known as like interdisciplinary smart cyber-physical system. And we are in the age of industry 4.0, and our course will definitely give the flavor to the students for industry 4.0, and the students will be ready for the like industry ready for and they will be having a lot of opportunities once they complete the course and they move to the industry. They will be completely industry ready. This is the main focus of the course. So now I would request our fellow colleague, Mr. Soumitra Mukherjee, to explain the career aspects of robotics.
So, good afternoon to everyone. The career aspects for robotics, if I want to put it in a simple words, it's enormous. So you are lucky in the sense that you are at the crossroads of an industrial revolution. Like Sangeet was telling, the industry 4.0 is on the rise. So robotics has application in each and every industry, each and every services that you can imagine. So before going into the career aspects, I want to highlight one or two particular salient points about the course. Is that it is one of the most comprehensive course on robotics that is available in the country. And it also encompasses other aspects of the imaging technologies like AI, ML, data analytics, computer vision, which has applications in each and many of the industries. So the career opportunities that you can find in from this course is all encompassing. So can you go to the next slide? I'll just before going into the industry, I'll just highlight a few roles that you can think of after doing this course. You can work as a design engineer, you can work as a software engineer, you can work as a computer vision specialist, you can work as an AI ML specialist, data analyst, data scientist, UX designer, because we have taken comprehensive care for all the pertinent aspects of robotics. And robotics, as we all know, it is a multidisciplinary subject. It's an amalgam of many disciplines. So we have taken particular care for all these aspects of the knowledge that one person will require in the industry. So that way, the career opportunities from this course is huge. And some of the companies that you can look for that we have already contacted is Econ, Escort, SBI Infotech, IT giants, retail companies, each and every industry that you can imagine. Even if you see the startup space is also a gold mine for the jobs that people will be looking for. And not only jobs, after doing this kind of course in imaging technologies, you can think of studying your own startups also. The scope for emerging technologies are still in the virgin land, and we are lucky that we are starting at the very beginning of the revolution. After 3-4 years, the courses might become commoditized, but right now it is one of the most unique courses in the country. But last but not the least, I would like also to tell you that what are the advantages of doing a postgraduate diploma course from CEDAC. First of all, the course structure is so comprehensive. It encompasses all the relevant aspects that you will need to get into your work life. Secondly, apart from academicians, the scientists who are working on real life projects, they are also teaching the students. So you will always have a real time flavor of how this the theories that are being taught are put into practice. Thirdly, we also deploy students into live projects, which is a unique facility or unique opportunity from CEDAC. And CEDAC, you will know, that has always been at the forefront of technology. So from you will get not only a certificate from one of the institutes of national importance in the country, but you will also be taught by people who are actually putting the theory into practice. So I wish all of you all the best for your upcoming CCAT examination, and we look forward to welcoming you in CEDAC Kolkata. That's all from my side.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I really thanked CEDAC Kolkata team to enlighten all participants and also me about the robotics course and the recruiters around it and the technologies on which it will work. So we would end the session here for today and also for this webinar. In these 2 days, we have covered different technologies. We have covered different career opportunities around it. And also we have also tried to tell you what all you can learn when you are jumping into this field. So if any doubt, we would be opening the session for 5 minutes for every participants to ask questions for the career opportunities around AI, blockchain, robotics, IoT, and then we would be answering the questions for you. So the chat is open for all. Palmukun, to answer your question, first year and second year graduation student can't take this course. However, you could start preparing for now. We have a CCAT common entrance exam across India. And then in last year, to be graduates or the graduates can take it. The final sem students and the pass out students. Fees is mentioned, Rupesh Kumar, fees is mentioned in this booklet. And also you could have the look on x.ca.in. However, Rupesh, to facilitate the penetration and the benefit of these courses to all the students, we are in process of impaneling SBI, HSBC, SDFC, and Axis Bank to facilitate you with the loan, necessary loan. Thank you, Jairaj, for the good feedback you are giving. Surely, if you want us to arrange one webinar with Sonam Wangchuk sir also in ENF, we will try to. This is a good idea. We will surely work on it. Any other query would be, we would be very happy to entertain. And the booklet which I'm sharing now, sharing on the screen, is the list of all the diploma courses which are run by CEDAC. And these are very advanced technology courses and are covered by industry experts, not the general professors who are in line with theory. It is around 70% hands-on and 30% theory, which with all the advanced way of smart classroom and smart teaching. And at the end of this program of 900 hours, which is a NSQF level 8 program, we have a common placement program across India. And for this region of Kolkata, Silchar, Patna, and Northeast, including Odisha and all, CEDAC Patna would be the placement region. And we are very much positive about the good response from different recruiters that they would be visiting our company in robotics, in artificial intelligence, and IoT. Any more information, if you require, you could visit our website x.cedac.in. And also contact us at the email ID info.cedac.patna@cedac.in. Thank you, Nirala. Thank you, Jairaj. Okay, then we will end the session here. Thanks all participants for participating and making this event successful. Thank you all speakers. Thank you, CEDAC Kolkata. Thank you, Aditya sir, for making this a successful event. Thanks a lot.
Ji, kindly accept our gratitude for letting us have this talk, and we look forward to collaborating with you. And thanks a lot for this wonderful program.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
sir.
Thanks a lot.
It's a nice initiative. It's a nice initiative.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay.